So far, we have seen how to upload a file into a storage account and then how to query them, right? Using
Mm-hmm.
SQL and probably Synapse. Otherwise, we'll do Synapse. That is fine. I mean, Apache Spark. It is the same way how you right click on the file and use a SQL pool and then select top 100. If you do the same with Apache Spark, it will open a similar window, but the syntax will be a little different. We'll deal with that.
Okay.
But the process wise, UI wise, it is the same way how you generate a SQL query for a file. So today we'll deal with the SQL serverless SQL pools. This is basically how you run. If you remember, there was whenever we ran a SQL pool, we were running it in a built-in SQL account, not the
Mm-hmm.
dedicated one. So this class we'll see what the dedicated one is. When you have a database created in your Synapse workspace, and it's not a on-demand, it's a dedicated instance for you. So you have a dedicated space. When I say dedicated, a fixed number of CPU computing power is
Mm-hmm.
allocated to that particular server.
Okay.
Serverless SQL pool is a shared resource. The allocation happens only on a demand basis.
Demand basis.
So
Okay.
yeah, nobody, no server, no computing power waits for you in case of serverless. If you are
Okay.
using less, less is allocated. If you are using more, more is allocated. But in
Mm-hmm.
dedicated SQL pool, you will demand a source at the time of creation, and those many resources are kept waiting for you. So they
Okay.
will come into action as and when you need it.
Okay.
And the generic purposes of using this activity to do the data exploration, transformation, and for the logical warehouse. When I say logical, it applies only for the serverless SQL pool. And if you are using a dedicated SQL pool to query your data, it is not
Mm-hmm.
logical, it is physical data warehouse.
Okay.
Okay, this much we have seen so far, and now you have already seen multiple data formats. These are the same thing. You would have noticed that format keyword in your open rosette CSV. So you can change it to JSON or Parquet depending on what the underlying data, the underlying file format, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, whichever the
We,
format
we
you are
don't have
interacting
JSON
with will
file
be the
in our
logical.
we don't have JSON file in our blob, right? We only
We
have
can. So this is the format type. This the open rosette syntax. This is for a SQL query, and you give the format as CSV, JSON or Parquet. So depending on that, it will read. And this we have already covered, I believe. When you give the bulk collect and the URL, if you give a file name directly, it will pick up only one file. And if you give a file star.csv, okay. Uh, let's take an example for the regular expressions. So in Unix, there is something called as a regular expression. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's do the okay. We are taking a file name. Okay. Tell me a sample file name. Uh, my report
Estimates.
uh, dot okay. My estimates dot csv, right?
Mm-hmm.
Estimates dot csv. Now tell me, how do you give a open rosette syntax for this CSV? When you read this file in your open rosettes, you will give this, right? Estimates dot csv. This is the first case, which is a direct one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's consider the second set. So we have estimate dot csv, and then there are multiple months. So I will do a Feb, and then I will do a Jan. So how can you process both these files at once? How can you read both of these files into your workspace at once?
Have to give some sort of a common denominator to the files, right?
Yes. So it is a CSV file. So what I will do is estimate and then I will do a star. So it is like After the name estimates, hyphen Jan and hyphen Feb is taken care by the star. That is the
By the star. Okay.
asterisk. Yeah. So any number of chars and then any number of occurrences. When I say occurrences, it's irrespective of the length. So it
Mm-hmm.
can have any number of characters and it can have any length of characters. That
Okay.
is the star. If I use underscore, it is one char only.
Okay.
Okay. So if I have to give a one character this thing, okay. If we have a second day of Jan, and then okay, let me make it easy. Okay, this is fine. If we have a first day of Jan, so how do you process only the Jan files? Because I might as well have a February, and then that Feb can have a second day or first day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how can you process only one, 2 days of January files? So you just since underscore deals with only one character, I would do something like estimates. I will have an underscore, and then I'll add two underscores and Jan. So please note here there are four underscores because we are dealing with the underscore presiding and the post 01 name. So
Mm-hmm.
the middle underscores will look for a single occurrence of any character. It could be number, date, day, anything. If I add another file for January, suppose on 9th of January, so all 1, 2, and 9, all three files are processed as part of this syntax.
Okay.
When I, okay, that is for Jan, and then same thing applies for February and everything. And how do you, uh, what do you say, process all these files at once, irrespective of Jan? So one way is that estimates star will do the job for you. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have something like a JSON, so here we have a JSON. How do you handle this?
Because now we have different type of file.
Correct. So here we'll just go through the CSV and then do a double star. So not just the files, it will go with sub files under subfolder as well.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose if we have another, in such case, some cases you will see a folder, January folder per month actually, Jan, Feb, March, and all. So in such cases, if there is a 23 folder under which you have Jan, Feb, and March till December, and under these we have 01 and then 02, all the 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So 31 files under Jan under 2003. So if you give the files dash files slash 2023 folder, and then if you just run the double star, all 12 months worth of files, maybe around 50, we have 52 weeks if it's a weekly file, so we will process all 52 files at once, or we will be processing 360 files using the double star notation.
Okay.
That is what mentioned here. You can query the file directly by the name or with the starting pattern with anything which comes after file, or all the files in the current directory, or all the files in current and the subdirectories.
Subdirectories.
This is about selecting the files. And okay, some properties. It's like You can tell the system if there is a header row present, mainly the column name. We have seen that. If we don't give a header row, it will print C1, C2, C3. C stands for column. And if there is header row present, it will by default consider the first row as header. And for
Okay.
some reason, if you want to skip uh, number of files at the number of records at the beginning, you can use the first row. So in this case, the first row is starting from the second record. If you mention 20, the initial 19 records will be ignored and the file will load starting from the 20th record. So that is the purpose of
The
first row.
20th line will be then considered as the header row, or the header row
No,
would still be
the
considered as the
first
first one.
first row will always be the header row.
Be considered as the header row. It will just skip
It
the
is
next 19 rows to
correct,
so not to get any values.
correct.
Okay.
So in physical sense, 21st row becomes your 20th row if
Mhm.
you have a header row true.
Okay.
Okay. And then open row set parameters. We have a first row to skip the first row as a, I mean to skip the mentioned number of rows and then start the record from. And then field terminator, initially we saw a comma separated. By default it is comma. If you have a data which is separated by any other character, you can mention the field terminator is equal to in single quote either a space or a hyphen or a double quote or something else. It's mostly space or a comma in general.
Mhm.
And then row terminator, it's always a CRLF in Windows and 0x0a in Unix. When I say CRLF, it is the slash n character. So as soon as it file encounters this character CRLF, it will be what do you call, considering that the row has ended. Have you seen a CRLF here? Yeah, if you open any file, go to view on Notepad, show symbol, show all characters. You see this LF here at
Oh, I
the
see.
end of the
Okay.
line. Yeah, so this is the line terminator. So in Windows, it is noted as a slash n. That's how you read it. And in the Linux, you will read it as 0x0a. And the
Okay.
field quotation is how you present a double string or comma. So for example, if the field terminator is comma, and if you consider this as a complete address, you have address 1 comma address 2 comma so on, right, till the pin code. So
Mhm.
this comma needs to lose its significance of a field terminator and it needs to be retained as part of the whole address. In that case, you have something called as a field quote. So if I say double quotes is my field quotation, if I mention a double, okay, let me take here only. Without the field quotation, address line 1 is considered as a column in comma separated version of the file because we have given the field terminator as comma. But
Mhm.
with the field quotation as double quotes, as soon as it starts the double quote, the significance of a comma as a field terminator is on hold till it finds a closing double quote parenthesis. So anything comes in between is considered as one column when field quote is enabled.
Okay.
Without that, these three will become three different columns without a double quote.
Let's see.
Okay, cool. And then querying of a JSON file. So JSON again, I think there is a typo. This needs to be changed to JSON format. And field terminator is we are giving next line character. Field quotation also. No, we are giving a double quote. I think I don't recall the exact number. Just take it as an example. We are
Mhm.
just using all the parameters here, and then we are giving a data type for the whole document. So when we say n varchar of max, it is handled as 8,000 characters, character length file. This is
Okay.
similar when you right click on a JSON file in your storage account and select the top 100 rows, it will create the similar syntax as you know saw for SQL query, and then
Okay.
we can proceed further from there. And then Parquet file is also similar way. You just point to your Parquet file location. Here we are looking at any file name dot any format it says, but ideally Parquet will be handled with an encryption and decryption logic. So if you consider a CSV file for a Parquet format, the file load would fail because the decryption logic will fail. And the external databases, when you done reading the file from any source, from a DB or a storage account or some other mode, you will have to store the retrieved data somewhere, and that data set can be given a table name. So that is called as an external database object. We'll see how to create that in the data lake presentation. But whatever the select query you have written so far, that will be used to create an external table. And as part of external objects creation, we have used so far only three types: CSV, Parquet format, and then JSON format. But if you have a custom file format, if you want to mix and match few things, you can create an external file format, and then you can give a name, and then you can have your a CSV in general stands for comma separated. But if you want to change that comma to some hyphen character, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
can create that CSV format with a hyphen fill terminator and string delimiter as a double quote. So here all the CSVs will be looking for a hyphen character. If you use this particular CSV format, where will you use this? In the format button. So this is a system defined CSV name, and this is the custom CSV we have given. If you use the same name CSV format here, it will, instead of comma, it will look for hyphen for identifying the fields. Okay, that
Okay.
is the external file format. And how do you create an external table for result set? So the syntax is create external table, your schema name dot the table name, your columns along with the data types. So here product ID is of integer type, product name is of character, with data source, read it from the file's location, and what is the file you are creating. So basically what happens when this DBO product gets created, it replicates the data present in products folder from all the CSV files. Now it
Mm-hmm.
is a file format CSV, which is hyphen delimited. And once the table is created, you can simply query it as if it's a SQL table.